This story, which took place in the summer of 2021, shocked and outraged all of Britain. A 33-year-old woman disappeared on her way home, practically in the center of London. She was searched for several days, and when the horrific truth came to light, everyone was shocked. In this video, we will tell you what happened to Sarah Everard and how it affected all of British society. Sarah Everard was born in 1987 in the British county of Surrey. In her childhood, she moved with her parents to the city of York, where she finished secondary school and college. Sometime later, she moved to London and got a job at a marketing agency, where she soon became a department head. On the evening of March 3, 2021, Sarah was visiting a friend. Around 9 o'clock in the evening, she headed home, deciding to walk. The route was supposed to take about 50 minutes. On the way, she called her boyfriend, and they arranged to meet the next day. The woman was not heard from again, and the next day, March 4, her boyfriend contacted the police. Law enforcement agencies began the search and first reconstructed Sarah's route from her friend's house to her home. This path ran through the Clapham area, which is located near the center of London. At the same time, hundreds of volunteers joined the search. They put up posters and searched streets and parks. Police questioned about 750 potential witnesses and examined surveillance camera footage. On one of them, they saw Sarah walking down Poinders Road at 9:28 p.m. At that moment, she was still talking to her boyfriend on the phone. 4 minutes later, the woman was captured on the camera of a passing police car. Unfortunately, this footage did not help the police determine the woman's current location. The search dragged on for several days, and on March 9th, 6 days after Sarah's disappearance, the police announced the arrest of a suspect in her kidnapping. To everyone's surprise, it was a 48-year-old police officer, Wayne Couzens. The man had joined the Metropolitan Police in September 2018. Before his arrest, he patrolled the streets where the Palace of Westminster, the Prime Minister's residence, and foreign embassies are located. Moreover, he carried an automatic weapon, and in Britain, not all police officers have access to one. The police did not specify what exact evidence led them to their colleague. It was only known that the suspect's home was searched and that his partner was also detained. She was suspected of assisting the criminal, but was soon released without charges. Immediately after the arrest, a wave of outrage swept across Britain. Women all over the country demanded that the case be transferred to another agency, as no one believed the police would investigate their own colleague properly. But the situation escalated even further. On March 10, police discovered human remains in a woodland area near the town of Ashford, about 90 kilometers from London. They were in a black bag. It took experts several days to establish the identity. To do so, they had to request dental records. The deceased turned out to be Sarah. The police did not specify what the criminal had done to the body to require the use of dental records for identification. Immediately after this, Couzens was charged with murder. While in custody, he was taken to the hospital twice. Both times, the man was recorded as having a head injury. According to the official statement, the suspect received these injuries while he was alone in his cell. We will not speculate on how he actually received them. All of Britain was shocked that a police officer could kidnap a woman with no particular difficulty, practically in the center of London. On March 13, people decided to hold a vigil to honor Sarah's memory and express their outrage. However, the London police banned the event, citing COVID-19 restrictions. The vigil's organizers tried to challenge this decision in the High Court, but they were met with a ban there as well. Because of this, the event split into two parts. Some people stayed home and lit candles outside their doors at 9:30 p.m. Prime Minister Boris Johnson joined this action. Others, however, took strong exception to the ban and took to the streets. Several hundred people, predominantly women, gathered near an impromptu memorial with posters, candles, and flashlights. At first, everything was peaceful. The police who arrived on the scene did not intervene and stood aside. However, at some point, law enforcement decided to disperse the vigil, citing the same COVID-19 restrictions. As a result, several women were arrested. This police behavior caused even more outrage across the country. People demanded the resignation of the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Cressida Dick. They were baffled that a female commissioner would disperse a peaceful vigil in such a harsh manner, where other women were demanding justice for Sarah Everard. In response to the criticism, the police chief stated that COVID-19 restrictions were in effect in the country and that the gatherers had put themselves and others at risk. But these explanations did not satisfy the public or the government. Prime Minister Boris Johnson and London Mayor Sadiq Khan criticized the commissioner's actions and supported the women who came to the vigil. They also promised to take measures to protect women from harassment on the streets of London. Over the next few days, even more people came to the memorial. But this time, the police did not intervene and merely stood aside. The vigil participants demanded not only a fair investigation into Sarah's case, but also safety for all women on the streets. Meanwhile, Wayne Couzens was preparing to stand trial while under arrest. The public awaited the start of the proceedings to finally learn the details of what happened. The trial began only several months later, and on July 8th, the criminal pleaded guilty. A few days before the incident, Wayne had rented a car and bought a roll of heavy-duty film. The perpetrator was not acquainted with Sarah Everard and chose her as a victim after seeing her on the street. It is not entirely clear how he got her into his car. Investigators suggested that the man might have used his police uniform or warrant card to persuade the woman to get into the car voluntarily. Otherwise, if he had tried to do it by force, Sarah would have screamed, and someone would surely have heard. After that, Wayne headed towards the village of Tilmanstone, which is about a 2.5-hour drive from London. Arriving at the location at about 1 a.m., he raped Sarah, murdered her, and hid her body. Only months later did the authorities reveal the cause of death. It was strangulation. His route was tracked using street and traffic cameras. Investigators also requested information from the car rental company to confirm that he was indeed the one driving. On the morning of March 4th, the day after the murder, the criminal returned the rented car. In the following days, the man told colleagues and acquaintances that he was under great stress and no longer wanted to carry a weapon. On March 8th, when he was due on duty, Wayne claimed he was sick and did not go to work. The very next day, at about 8 p.m., his colleagues came to his home with an arrest warrant. As it later turned out, the man had erased all the data from his smartphone 40 minutes before they arrived. During the first interrogation, Wayne gave his colleagues a fabricated story, worked out to the smallest detail. He claimed that he often used the services of call girls, but had recently been experiencing financial difficulties and could not pay them. Then, an Eastern European criminal gang that controlled this business began to threaten him. As a solution, they allegedly demanded that the police officer bring them a new woman. Of course, no one believed this story. Firstly, the man served in a rather elite police unit, and threatening him over a small amount of money would hardly have been wise. Secondly, the story simply makes no sense. Even if this story were true, does it make Wayne any less guilty? Of course not. During the investigation, another interesting fact was uncovered. In 2015, a complaint was filed with the Kent Police Department about a certain man who was sitting naked in a car. Apparently, the police had enough information to identify this man as Wayne Couzens, but this never happened. At that time, he was already serving in the police, just in a different department. As you can understand, he would have been fired with high probability for such behavior. But that's not all. In February 2021, Wayne publicly exposed himself in a restaurant, after which 2 police officers were called to the scene. Despite this, he also faced no punishment. The investigation into that case was ongoing until the summer. Just a few days before the attack on Sarah, the man was questioned in connection with that situation. It is expected that the final court hearing will take place on September 29th. If no new developments appear in the case, the man may receive his final verdict.
So what do we have in the end?
Firstly, it all looks as if Wayne's colleagues turned a blind eye to repeated incidents of public exposure. For any of them, he could have not only lost his job, but also received a criminal sentence. Secondly, this situation showed all Londoners that a woman can be abducted practically in the very center of the city, on well-lit streets. We still do not know how the police established Wayne's involvement in this crime. Perhaps his rented car also appeared on street cameras near the streets where Sarah was walking. This information will most likely be disclosed in court on September 29th.
And we will report on it.
In the meantime, let's hope that the guilty party will receive the maximum punishment. Take care, and thanks for watching.